When I started selling on Etsy, I was mostly reacting to what I found. If something looked like it might sell, I picked it up. In fact, I started buying items to sell before I ever actually gave my shop a thought. And I've talked about the mistakes that came from that before. But what I want to share here today is something a little different. What I would actually do first if I were building a shop from the ground up, so to speak, today. And for me, that would come down to a few really simple things. Limiting the types of items I initially list in my shop. Deciding what I want the shop to look and feel like for my future customers, and putting a few basic systems and supplies in place before I ever publish a single listing. And believe me, I did none of those things when I first opened my shop. What I've noticed over time is that the shops that feel the easiest to shop in, and honestly are probably the easiest to run, they're not built around what's popular or trendy right at that moment. They're built around how the shop actually works for that shop owner in that shop. Now, everyone's shop is different, but for all of us, it comes down to a few simple things. Clear categories, a consistent look, and a shop that feels like it was put together or curated very intentionally. And that's what I want to walk through today, how I would build that from the very beginning before I publish a single listing. Well, hello and welcome. I'm Carol, and I have a shop called V Vintage Collectibles on Etsy. I am not an expert, but on this channel, I share what I've learned about what it takes to be successful selling vintage online. And believe me, I'm still learning. So the first thing I would do differently is I wouldn't start by sourcing everything I found. I know it's really tempting in the beginning because you're out there sourcing and you're seeing all kinds of things that could sell, and it feels like you should just bring it all home. But what I've come to realize over time is that that actually makes things a lot harder than they need to be. What I would do instead is choose 2, maybe 3 categories to start with. Not because those are the only things I'm ever going to sell, but because those are the things that I want to get really familiar with first. I want to learn about them, become a little bit expert on them, at least expert enough to be able to source them without having to rely on Google Lens. And I would think about those initial categories in terms of what fits together, what naturally goes together, what would make sense in the same home, and even what a customer might purchase at the same time. And I've talked about this in a previous video. So for me, that might look like, let's say, butter dishes, salt and pepper shakers, and maybe candlestick holders. Not because those are the only good options, but because they do sort of relate to each other. They show up in the same space on the table. They're used in similar circumstances when you're dining, and they create a kind of consistency in a new shop. And what I didn't fully understand in the beginning is choosing like that isn't limiting you. It's actually giving you a foundation. And once you have that, everything else starts to build a lot more naturally. The next thing I would do, and this is something I really didn't do in the beginning, I didn't even know how to do it in the beginning, is before I listed anything, I would decide what I wanted the shop to feel like, what I wanted it to look like. And I don't mean that in a complicated way. I just mean I would picture the person I wanted to be selling to. What kind of home are they living in? What kinds of things are they drawn to? What kind of gifts are they giving? And honestly, for a lot of us, that person is probably just another version of ourselves. So I would start there. And then I would keep coming back to this one question. What kind of home does this belong in for each potential item I was thinking of sourcing? Because once you have that in your mind, it starts to guide everything else. And then from there, I would start building the look of the shop, little by little, not perfectly, but intentionally for sure. I would probably start with coming up with a simple logo, assuming you've already chosen your shop name, which was the hardest part for me. I'm still not totally thrilled with the name of my shop or the name of my YouTube channel, but I'm past the point of no return now, so I'm just dealing with it. It doesn't have to be complicated. Just find a logo that's clean, something that fits the overall feel that you're looking for, something that's easy to read when it's tiny. Maybe it would have part of a phrase that's been popping into your head, or something clever that you've heard that you can tailor to fit your shop. Now, your logo probably won't change as often as you change your banner. I think I've only changed mine twice in 4 years, and the one I have now I plan to keep for a long time. Now, a logo needs to be 2000 by 2000 pixels. And again, Canva or other graphics programs can be very helpful for this step. They have a lot of templates that you can look at. And then from there, now I built this later, but I have a few simple graphics that I use across all of my listings. Things like a shipping guarantee, QR codes to different sections, which obviously has to come later. Seasonal reminders like Christmas cutoff dates, and they're all the same size, 2000 by 2000, and they just help carry consistency across my shop, across all of my listings, and they help fill in for extra photos that you sometimes need if there's just not a lot to photograph of a particular item. Then I would think about my shop banner. I wouldn't overthink it, but I would look at other vintage shops on Etsy just until something starts to feel like, okay, that's maybe the direction I'm going in. Now, Canva has hundreds of templates to inspire you, which you can actually start with and edit until you get the look just right for your own shop. And then, make a few potential banners. Try them out in your shop before it's open and see what feels right, see what looks right. And just know you're not locked into that banner forever. You can change banners whenever you want. I usually refresh mine every season. Now, Etsy banners are 3,360 by 840 pixels. So just keep that in mind when you're setting those up in case you're not using a template. And then as I started photographing my first few items, I would really start thinking about my product photo backgrounds. This is one of those things that makes a bigger difference than you might think. And I actually have a video where I walk through how I use Canva product photos, their app, for this. Even if your original photos aren't exactly all the same, you can make them look really good in something like that product photos app. And along with that, I would think about the styling of the photos, not making everything identical, but making sure it feels related. So if you look through my shop, whether it's wedding, anniversary, or some of the other sections, you'll see that the backgrounds are consistent in the way they feel. They might not look all the same, but they do all have kind of the same feeling. And that's really the goal, that when someone scrolls through your shop, it feels like it belongs together. And I'll just say this here, By the way, at this point, don't even worry about shop sections yet. I would not worry about shop sections until I can create maybe 2 or 3 sections with at least 10 to 15 items in each section, so that when you do set those up, they actually feel full and intentional. So really, this whole part of the process is just about slowing down a little and building something that feels cohesive before you ever ask someone to shop it. Because once the foundation is there, everything else becomes a lot easier to build on. Now, this next thing is something I would do very differently. I was just so focused on getting something listed and making my first sale that I didn't really think about how everything fit together yet. But if I were starting today, once I had that overall look in place, or at least moving in that direction, then I would start sourcing. And at the same time, I would go ahead and commit to some very simple systems right from the beginning. Nothing complicated. I would think it out ahead of time though. Ways to track my inventory, a way to store my inventory to keep it clean and safe until it sells. And I would start gathering basic shipping supplies. One of the first things you will want to have, because you'll need this for both your listings and for shipping, is a way to weigh your items. Yes, I said way to weigh. A scale is definitely something you need right away. You will need to put the weight of your items in your listings, and then you're going to need a scale to weigh your packages before you start printing shipping labels. I have linked one down below in case you want to take a look at what I use. Maybe that will be a good reference point for you to start from. Now then, as you start bringing in items that you've sourced intentionally, you will start getting a feel pretty quickly for the kinds of boxes you're going to need to ship those items in when they do sell. Now, you can save boxes that you have items delivered to your own home in. I have all of my neighbors saving boxes and packing materials for me. And I do purchase a few basic size boxes, which I do have linked down below if you want to take a look at the kinds of boxes I do order in and always have ready. And then you just need some basic supplies on hand, like bubble wrap, packing paper, tape. You don't even need a tape gun to begin with, although later you're going to find those are pretty nice. But you don't need anything elaborate to start with. Just enough so that when you hear that first cha-ching, you're not scrambling around trying to find a box. Now, when it comes to your listings, you've sourced some items intentionally and you're ready to list them. I would not publish them right away. I would save those listings as drafts first. So as you're creating your listings, just choose Save as Draft instead of Publish, and let those build. Now remember, you don't actually pay the listing fee until you hit publish. So just start banking away those listings until you've got 20 or 30. And this is where I would slow down a little and look at the shop the way a buyer is going to be looking at it. Scroll through your drafts. See how they feel. See if anything looks out of place. Make sure your pictures look good, especially your thumbnails. I would not go live with 3 or 4 or 5 listings, probably not even 10. I would want 20 to 30 listings ready before I publish any of them. Probably 10 in each of those 2 to 3 categories that I'm starting with, so that when I open my shop, it feels like a whole full shop right from the beginning. And that's really the advantage of drafting first. You can take your time, adjust things, make it feel right before anything is actually live. Because then once you do hit publish, you're not just putting up a few listings and hoping they'll sell. You're opening a shop that already feels like it belongs there on Etsy. So at that point, you've done the Etsy setup steps, you've drafted your listings, and you've got your shop put together so it's ready for someone to come in and shop it. And that's when I would go ahead and publish those listings and open my shop. I think when most of us start, we feel like we need to move quickly, start listings, start sourcing, just get things up. And there's nothing wrong with that. You want to have a lot of excitement over your shop. Most of us start that way. But if I were starting today, I would take more time on the front end to build something that actually fits together. Because when your shop makes sense, everything after that gets easier. Sourcing gets easier. Photographing gets easier. Even selling gets easier. And I think that's what I didn't fully understand in the beginning. You're not just listing items. You're building something that people can step into. And that's what I would want in place before I ever open my shop. I'm curious to know, what is the one thing that you would want to go back and change more than anything else if you were opening your shop today? It'll be interesting to see what everyone thinks. Thanks so much for being here today.